Okie dokie. Well, this is, once again, very quickly degrading into a bit of a nasty scenario. Or not at all, never mind, it was easy. Perfect. Just a little bit of reverse psychology for the game here. Gotta make sure the adaptive AI that DCSS employs that listens through all mic devices on your computer and constantly will try to refute everything you say. Got around it there using the old thinker. Little known strat for all you DCSS strugglers out there. Easy way to win. Just don't complain about anything, I guess, is the moral of that story. But okie dokie. Regardless, we'll once again deftly sidestep any need to face my own inadequacies as a narrator here by instead shifting focus to that of the game. Especially now that we've been made aware that there are, in fact, dumb people watching streams on Twitch. Who knew? Thought it was nothing but a bunch of veritable geniuses, former, or rather future, Nobel laureates in the making. Is that not what this website is for? A bit of a convention space for like-minded individuals such as myself, or like-minded to myself? When you stumble your way through the "oh, I'm so smart" joke, it definitely takes a bit of the edge off of it, but that's what I need to continue my my illusion of being just a normal human being, instead of, as we're all well aware by this stage in our journey together, a god gamer. Two words that are generally not used to describe me. I guess I'm not necessarily antithetical to the gamer distinction, but god, that's just what I call myself. Don't hear that from others very often. 3 scrolls of brand weapon. I have 7 brand weapon scrolls and nothing, absolutely nothing to do with them. Nothing but improvised TED Talks on this website. Very true. Only my TED Talk doesn't have the snappy visuals that are usually required for that, or any sensible through line, narrative function, or form. TED's rambles, is that a thing? If not, then it should be. I'm calling the TED people. I think we're on to something here. Titanic slime? No problem. Just bash your forehead into that wall until something gives. In this case, the slime, so that's pretty sweet. No guarantees of that being the case, of course. Vulnerable to the cold. Oh, ×2. I didn't realize you really took the wind out of our sails there. Yikes. Don't love that, but at the very least doesn't put us into the negatives. We're not fully vulnerable, so that is not too bad. Okay, friends are going to be phoned, and they will come in time here, unfortunately. Much to my dismay. Oh, and you're phoning more friends, which should not be allowed. But here we are. I guess I could have also called a friend is maybe the correct way to deal with that. Throw enough summons at the problems till something gives. And hopefully it's not my spine. But I wonder what will break first. Let's just continue to rest up here. I don't know what I'm doing with the skills. Again, I have the short-term memory of a goldfish today, because I opened this up, looked at them, thought to myself, what skills should we do? Hit a random button, closed it, immediately forgot what I was doing here in the first place. I don't know if I actually want dodging, I guess is the crux of that little blurb. Probably don't care too much. I might as well leave it on. It's gone up 0.1, so let's bring that up to a nice whole number, why don't we? Otherwise, Invo, I guess? Does that get me better at banishing? I think it does. One moment. I believe I still have this up here. Zap a beam of banishment. Like the monster spell, it checks willpower. Cool. I don't see whether or not that willpower check scales off invocations, but it should, right? One would think. At the very least, I believe it does malmutate monsters, even if it fails to ship them off to a less savory environment than their current one. Which, you know, is presumptuous of me to say. Less savory is in the mind of the beholder, I've always said. And in many monsters' cases, I'm sure the Abyss is a lovely time. Just a fantastic jaunt through the more chaotic parts of the world. Or is it part of the world? Once you get into dimensions of all kinds and planes of existence, things like world begin to have a bit more of a loaded connotation to them, I guess. But okie dokie, let's head down, and we will do our best to take care of one final floor of vaults here. I believe, actually, we've probably worked off our penance, haven't we? Quaslal, it was nice to see you, friend. It hadn't quite clicked in my brain that we'd just beaten the Quaslal run, hadn't we? Before starting off this one. So, fairly fitting that we got to give them a bit of a send-off. Yikes. Fear me, if you dare. And you know what? On the other hand, I will actually. I'll bring you along. Nice little hike upstairs. Also, Quaslal penance not worked off. Sorry, buddy. Didn't mean to insult you. You are nothing if not ever present in our minds, hearts, and our souls, even after the betrayal. I'll never forget you. You were my first true god, and you'll hold a special place in my my heart of hearts for that. My many hearts? My no hearts, actually? Vinestalker probably doesn't have a arterial system, no? I mean, why would you? Chlorophyll is all you really need. So that begs the question. Again, just in my usual habit of diving way too deeply into the less important ideas present in any fantasy world, or at least less important to some, again. Importance, Eye of Beholder, all that good stuff. Do have to ask ourselves, what does the organ tract of a plant person look like? Because I guess at the end of the day, plants have, what is the phylum? Is the phylum the veins of a plant? Well, this is trying to put like knowledge from 11 years ago to the test. I don't think I've really done a deep dive or been taught the specifics of photosynthesis since my school days. I've probably looked it up since then, but apparently, again, nothing sticks. My brain is greased with a fine sheen of butter that resists all traction of knowledge. Unless, or more so, I guess, more accurately than that. You know, not to fully be self-depreciative, but instead, I think the case for me is that my brain just has no say in what gets filed away into the important systems versus what gets kind of tucked into the file and forget section of my mind palace. So we have the cluttered remnants, the landfill of important facts, and then we have the dedicated library to song lyrics from things that came out in the 90s and 2000s. Very critical piece of the mind palace, not to be disturbed for any reason whatsoever. Sarquaz, the doc said leaving you is my best odds of overcoming this recent case of tinnitus. True. At a certain point, you stop being able to disparage the ringing of the storms with the ambient clutter of audio. What else can I drop here? I mean, we probably don't need to be carrying around literally everything we can get our paws on. Specifically, though, Rapier of Speed, I kind of want to keep, so ignore me. Hood of the Assassin and the Cloak, I'll come back for you if the fates see it in them to tailor that string, shall we? Or something like that. Been revisiting a bit of Greek mythology. I haven't checked it out myself, really, but I watched one episode of the new Percy Jackson show with my partner. That was a series of books that I was the perfect age. I think it, maybe slightly too old, like a year or two after me. My younger sibling definitely got into Percy Jackson, the books by Rick Riordan. But it kind of missed me, even though it's very much up my alley. I'm a huge fan of Greek and Roman mythology. Greek more than the Roman side, I'd even say. So, on paper, it's definitely very, very much up there. But never really got the chance to check it out. I do think I watched the movie. When did that movie come out? Like mid-2000s or something like that? I do recall that being a big thing at the time, though largely when I say big thing, I believe that turned out to be a big disappointment for most huge fans of the books, because they didn't feel it quite did the series justice. But all that being an extremely long-winded way of saying, I watched one episode of the new Percy Jackson and it seemed fun. I definitely always like creative storytelling when it comes to kind of mashing traditional tropes or themes with more modern sensibilities. So in this case, it's the Greek gods in the modern day. What does that look like? What does it look like to be a god of wine? Are you like the head of a fraternity and you're just getting everyone drunk all the time? Are you a vineyard producer, maybe? The finest wine in all the tri-state area? Lots of avenues that can go, and I've always enjoyed where stories take that. It's similar for when you mash up like fantasy with more modern themes. I think I got introduced to that early. Did any of you play... I should not have started the story until I was guaranteed that my brain would get there. Arcanum? I think it's Arcanum. I really enjoyed Arcanum back in the day, and that was a fun mismatch of like traditional fantasy themes and a bit more of a modern take. And in that one, I believe, the more adept you were with magic, the worse you were with technology. So you can't be a wizard with a gun. You can have guns, or you can be a wizard, and they kind of clash against each other. It's almost similar to another series of books I read that have a group of knights in it that don't believe magic exists. It's a full fantasy, like high fantasy world, but this group of knights does not believe magic exists. And they believe so strongly that magic doesn't exist that it's actually a form of anti-magic magic, and it prevents magic from working in their vicinity. And I thought that was really clever. So a lot of these little things I think stuck with me as a kid, and still love them to this day. But that recent musical game kind of went with those themes. Stray Gods. Oh, I don't think I heard about Stray Gods. Let's bring up a quick image here. Not Starry Gods, but Stray Gods. Oh, this is a cute style. I like the art a lot. Role-playing musical. I'll have to ask my partner. This seems very much up their alley of things they play. They really like these kind of role-playing storylines, and they also share this deep fascination with kind of interesting interpretations. I guess another one, while we're on the topic, American Gods by Neil Gaiman. Fantastic, and has a lot of fun with taking the tropes and kind of myths of all these gods. I mean, Neil Gaiman always does just an absurd amount of research into any topic that they write on, but taking all that and really incorporating it with a modern world, which is awesome. There's just so much you can do with it. Such a creative exercise. Even just to do on your own. You don't have to write a full story. You can just kind of have fun with, what would the like ancient Egyptian gods look like in the modern world. Love that stuff. I also completely forgot. I was in my mental tangent here, train is completely derailed, but it landed on a different set of rails at least. So there's maybe some cohesiveness to the overall topic here. But what I failed to mention in my diatribe is that I did notice when we officially lost our penance from Quaslaw. Quaslaw was mollified, I believe was the term the game used, which I like. And so we are fully, well and truly in our lane now. Good to go, making Lucy proud. For Stray Gods, think visual novel, meaningful choices, but many scenes are musicals, and some of the choices are what the next lyric will be, so the songs adapt to what you choose. Ooh, that's really fun. I like that a lot. Improvisational musical stuff is always so impressive to me. So, while this is not, of course, quite improvisational, I swear I just said this word in the earlier sentence and now it's all fallen apart. My carefully constructed illusion of intelligence is flailing at the seams. Oh gosh, the humanity of it all. But no, while not quite being improv, because everything is predefined in the code, still very impressive that they can incorporate that kind of dynamicism into the music. I like that a lot. I will definitely have to check it out, whether by myself or I'll watch my partner play it, because yeah, they're a huge fan of all those kind of meaningful choices. They were the ones that got me into The Wolf Among Us, which I still need to finish at some point. I think I've only played through like the first little bit. I'd say the first chapter, but even that might be an overstatement of my progress. But there are lots of good ones like that, and I definitely enjoyed watching a lot of their gameplay through The Walking Dead, the original Telltale ones, and Tales from the Borderlands. It was so fun and just good, silly old time, which is nice to get sometimes. I've also completely forgotten I have a beverage here, so let's, while we're deciding on what we want to train and trying to percolate through the options here. Percolate really on the brain today. It's not the first time I've used that this evening. But regardless, while that happens, we'll take a few sips here. Almost forgot that I was going to take a drink. Well, again, going off onto my my own little vocal tangents. So, how do I function on a daily basis? I guess normally I'm not talking out loud to myself, so usually the brain is rapid firing through things, and I just, by design, forget all the things that I forgot, and so it doesn't bug me. But I try to be, again, a little more cohesive, a little more sane when talking to others, because I don't think that's a conducive method of communication, really, at the end of the day. But less so on the communication side, more so on the kicking butt sides. What is conducive to that end? More fighting, I guess. I'm kind of at the stage now where we've gotten all of our core skills. We're pretty happy with that. So now we need to start thinking of the utility, which actually, I'm glad you mentioned me, because on that note, I would like to pivot off into the throwing direction, I think. Not on the level of gamesmanship here. We're not going to be throwing it away, but we are going to be training some throwing to better equip ourselves for when the inevitable does happen and we do start throwing in the metaphorical sense. So that sounds nice. And 14 is probably a little high, but let's see what happens, shall we? Again, hopefully we're at a stage now where we won't even need that training. It'll be but a formality at the cherry on top of our Zot destroying Sunday. But just in case that does not end up being the scenario, it is good to have that as a bit of a backup. Do you have an okay amount of throwing consumables? I'd like more javelins. Actually, no, sorry. Again, listening AI of DCSS. I don't need more javelins. In fact, seeing more javelins would make me very sad, upset, and worried about my future in the run here. So no more javelins. Please. Don't know why I tried to throw in a wink there. Winks are one of those things that not only do I think I can't pull them off, I think the majority, if not all, people in this wide world can't really pull off a wink. It's very much become a good visualization of a bit of tongue-in-cheek, a bit of sass, but don't think it works out quite as well in practice as it does in theory. Which is why it's one of those things that I feel like I have always... Sorry, just had to check my phone there. Always love the description of, you know, when it's written that someone winks, I'm like, ooh, they killed that delivery. But when it actually happens in front of me, not quite as smooth as it could otherwise be. Okie dokie. That just about does it for Depths 3, not too shabby. Seems nice that the Lugonu banishment malmutates if it's resisted, right? Especially since the malmutate lowers the hit dice, which then makes the willpower check easier. So if you just keep spamming banish on something, eventually it will work, which is always nice for sure. And we're an evil plant? Whoa, evil, save it. I mean, sure, we're bringing about the corruption of the entire known world as it's currently formed, but evil? Come on. We'll leave that to the writers of history, I guess. The wink is a move best reserved for emojis. Exactly. That very much boils it down nicely. And yet, I'll still try to make it work. I'll keep trying to make wink happening, or wink happen, even though wink just won't happen. My brain tried to go with a reference there, and it immediately fell apart. Small chance that a tiny percentage of you catch what the aim was there that I floundered in my attempt to accomplish or capture, but that's fine. The funny thing, if you want to nail a wink, you can't like really go for a wink. It just has to be barely noticeable. True. Because if you're... That's like... That has a different connotation though, right? That's like, oh, I'm actively winking in kind of a parody of winking versus just the quick one. But the quick one, it's like, are you okay? Do you have something in your eye? I noticed that you were kind of twinging a bit. I'm just concerned, really. And I think that that's a fair response to the subtle wink. I don't know, maybe the science just isn't there yet. We're still working on it as a species. One day we'll master the wink, and things will be tranquil and in peace once again. Every player character in DCSS is evil by default, save perhaps those that immediately exit the dungeon. No. Since when has the wanton murder of destruction of handfuls of people and they're, just trying to live their life in their own home been evil? What could possibly go wrong? I do love that. Any narrative protagonist is generally in that boat. Yikes. I'm out. Just gonna teleport out of the hornet's nest there and play it a little bit on the safe side.